For the 100th time in its history, the UFC Apex gives host to a UFC Fight Night card, and in the main event, we have welterweights going at it as veteran Neil Magny looks to knock off the rising contender and streak of Carlos Prates. The co-main event was to feature Cody Garbrandt against Miles Johns in a bantamweight matchup. Unfortunately, Garbrandt forced to pull out on fight week. No replacement was found for Miles Johns, so those co-main event honors are now given to middleweights Gerald Meerschaert as he welcomes former 1FC double champ Rainier de Ridder. Fun fight there. Very excited to see how that BJJ masterclass goes down from either side and who's able to get the win, and especially if somebody's able to get the submission and that high-level BJJ matchup. A reminder, this is the quick picks version for the UFC Vegas 100 breakdowns. If you guys are looking for in-depth breakdowns, you guys can check out the MMA Lawcast, which I dropped earlier this week. You can find the link for that in the top of the description. Otherwise, just check out the YouTube channel here to get all the other great content and segments that I drop for these UFC cards on a weekly basis. Again, with this quick picks format, I just get right to the point of every single matchup, leaving out a plethora of details and other argument points for these matchups. So if you're wondering why I take a certain play or a certain prediction, check out the full card breakdown to get more analysis on these matchups. All right, without further ado, let's get right into the breakdowns. Hope you're laced up and ready to go because we're off and running with the first fight of the night, which takes place between Melissa Mullins and Claudia Sygula. Both of these women like to implement a grapple-heavy approach, but I believe Mullins is the one that showcases better control, better takedowns, and I believe she'll be able to stay out of the submission-heavy style of Sygula, allowing her to grind this fight out and win it on the scorecards. Next up, Sean Gore returns after a 2-year-long layoff, going up against Antonio Trocoli. Very flaky matchup between both guys here. A fight that I expect the under 2.5 to actually end up hitting, but I'm going to have to lean with the speed, explosivity, and power of the Sean Gore side to land big shots on Trocoli and find that knockout within 2 rounds. Next up, bantamweights Cody Stamann and Damon Blackshear go at it here, and I do believe Stamann is being overlooked as he is a plus 230 underdog. I believe his defensive wrestling will allow him to stay away from the BJJ heavy approach of Blackshear, allowing him to dictate the pace in the striking realm and pulling away in the second and third rounds as Blackshear starts to slow down. Look for Stamann to get his hand raised by decision. Next up, Matthew Semelsberger going up against Charles Radtke, a fight that is surely to involve some violence, but I'm going to have to go with the grappler here, and Radtke can do a good enough job in the striking realm to get his own offense off, but eventually get this fight into the grappling realm where he should be able to find a finish in the first or second round. Next up, Zaleski taking on short notice UFC debutant Zach Scroggin. This is going to be a very bad fight for Scroggin, taking a gigantic step up in competition, and even though he has a pretty successful grapple-heavy approach that could find some success here against Zaleski, I think ultimately Zaleski will be able to shut that down, get to his striking advantage, and eventually find the finish in round 2. Next up, Gaston Bolanos going up against Cortavius Romious. Bolanos comes from a striking background, but he did not look like it last time around as he got finished by Marcus McGee in the second round. I believe Romious can be effective enough in the striking realm here to be competitive and then eventually get this fight to the ground where he has a tremendous grappling advantage, and I believe that will lead to him getting a submission victory. Next up, Karolina Kowalkiewicz going up against Denise Gomes. Kowalkiewicz did have a 4-fight winning streak. Unfortunately, she did get it snapped by prospect Yasmin Lucindo last time around, and I think another youngster here in Denise Gomes can provide the same type of performance. Look for Gomes to control the striking realm with the power that she possesses, but maybe even get some grappling success of her own to get some control time and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, Mansour Abdul-Malik makes his UFC debut against Dushko Todorovic, who's returning from back-to-back ACL surgeries, and I believe that's going to cause him a lot of issues to try to wipe off that ring rust against a large, explosive, and powerful opponent like Abdul-Malik. Although Todorovic has the experience advantage here, I think he's going to struggle with the physicality of Abdul-Malik, which will lead to a knockout victory for the UFC newcomer. Next up, Luana Pinheiro going up against Jillian Robertson. This is a horrible stylistic matchup for Pinheiro if she's unable to get success in the first round, which will eventually lead to Robertson wearing her down with the pressure and pace, eventually leading to a submission victory for Jillian Robertson in round 2. Next up, Ricky Turcios going up against Bernardo Sopaj. Turcios has a solid experience advantage here and strength of schedule, but I do believe Sopaj has a ton of potential, and he should be able to deal with the unorthodox and weird nature of Turcios' fighting style, which will lead to Sopaj getting his hand raised on the scorecards. Co-main event, Meerschaert going up against Rainier de Ridder. Both guys bring a grapple-heavy approach to their fights, but I do believe it's going to be de Ridder that can be more successful in these situations. His ability to take the back will be very important for him here against Meerschaert, who might have the proper technique and defenses to stay out of too many bad positions, but I believe as de Ridder's grapple-heavy approach wears on him, he should be able to open up a submission opportunity or a ground and pound opportunity, which he should be able to get and get his hand raised in his UFC debut by finish. And that brings us to the main event between Neil Magny and Carlos Prates. Prates finding himself as a minus 750 favorite going into this matchup, and it completely makes sense as he is the perfect architect of fighter that causes Neil Magny issues. Look for a lot of leg kicks from Prates to slow Magny down, and from there, opening up with his combination striking style, which will eventually allow him to find that big shot against Magny and finish him within the second or third round. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC Vegas 100. Appreciate all the love and support once again. And I'll be back tomorrow for the free parlay, Locky two-step, Locky Trinity, and the 3 best prop bets. I'll see you guys then. Peace.